Welcome to Watercolor Wednesday at the Church of the Palms in Sarasota, Florida. I am Kathy, and we're here today to do some Chinese brushwork, and we're doing flowers. Okay, here we are. I just quickly wanted to review about how we do our brush, because today we are doing not our sumi brush with the ink, but we are practicing some more strokes. And if you hold your hand, let me hold it sideways so it matches and you can see what I'm talking about. I'm holding the brush straight up and down, but the wrist is how you hold the brush to make the strokes, okay? So as I do each one, I'm going to talk about how I hold the brush. And I'll just quickly review, since, well, we are going to do a sunflower and we're going to do a chrysanthemum. But before we do those, the practice that I like to share has to do with working with real basic colors and doing some mixing. So I have the black paint, and this reminds us of the ink that we would use if we were doing ink. And in this case with the bamboo, which is the first exercise we started, I rolled my brush around in this brown paint. I'm just getting the paint wet to start with, to be honest, but a lot of that now is in my brush, and that's really a bit too wet. So I take some of the paint. I know it makes a lot of sense to say get it wet and then take some of the paint out, but we want to get a bit of a dry brush going on with this stroke. So if you notice, I went straight from the brown, which is in this part of the brush, and the point now has a little bit of black. All right, so I'm holding, sometimes I stand up to do this. I lay the brush flat. From this position, I have gone to this position. Okay, so this becomes a shaded side of a trunk. Now, without putting any more paint on, I'm trying to stagger these joints just a little bit. I'm suggesting that this one is maybe a little further away. And then maybe I will do a third one, as though it's kind of going back behind and in the background. Next, I will just roll this brush in some black. I'm going to get some of this wet, and then go back to the black point. And notice that I have a really nice point here on my brush. And this is creating the joints that are here with the bamboo. And as I move this across, I'm now just hopefully getting a little lighter, although not much. And now I'm going to do the strokes. Let's just add a little water and dab this and go with my background strokes. These are the branches that would be coming off of the back bamboo stalk. And this, now what I want to do is bring this forward and roll this in the black paint, take a little water out, and really just get the point dark. And I alternate with the stalks and the joints. The branches are going to come off and go behind here. Now I want to do the front ones, the front strokes. I got a little thick with that one. I didn't mean to do that. And now let's do a few more lines that suggest us a way of getting, and some leaves now will be next. So the leaves are going to be green, but please don't just take, you notice that my brush has a little black and brown on it. And yes, I can clean my brush up each time I do different exercises. But I want to get different shades of the green. So here I'm going to start with a little lighter, light green. I want some intense color. So here we go. And those strokes are going to be in the background. And these are the ones that are on the little tree in the background. And they're lighter. Okay, now I'm going to get darker. And whatever you do, see how bright this green is? Let's put a little blue. And let's pick up a little brown and black. And now we have what is
a very natural green. So we make our leaves by just holding the brush, laying it down, and lifting. So I'm trying to pay attention to my strokes, because sometimes you just go at it and you say, what did I just do? Oh yes. All right, so you get a point to the brush. You notice that it's full here. So by laying this down and lifting, you get the shape of a leaf. Okay, and we can go up or down. Think about how the leaves are going to grow. All right, one more layer of the leaves, and we'll do the next stroke that we practiced the last couple of weeks. All right, so now I'm looking at the leaves I would place on this foreground trunk, and I want this to be very dark, very strong, very intense with green. And the leaves now would get bigger, and they can overlap. And I have to keep building this color because it's going to get lighter. And I want some here. Wow. Okay. I probably should have had a few up here. Well, you can get really carried away if you want to. It's a lot of fun to make these strokes. All right, so that's the idea behind the bamboo. So other ways you can do that, of course, are just keeping it very light and simple, or go bold. It's practice. It's what you want it to be. Now, the next set of strokes I want to share are the ones we did with the irises. And we started this again with the lighter strokes. Now remember, we need a point and we need the pigment. Sometimes we have to make a judgment and we go, oh, that was too light. I need it darker. But to begin with, if we start with our strokes, again, the hand is held straight up, and we're just making these lovely lines. Okay, now I shouldn't make too many because I want to go darker. Those are the ones those are the leaves, or the these are not stems, these are actually grasses. And they are light because they are further back. Now I'm building darker, more intense, and this will be my green, blue, brown, black. In other words, I keep piling pigment to get a dark color. Okay? And I'm making sure that they all kind of come out of this one spot. Now I ended up with a little dry brush, which is okay. I almost wish I had made it darker than that. Let's see if I can do one or two more strokes. Now that's going to be almost black. And that will definitely be darker. Okay. And it will be nice and bold. Okay, a few little short strokes, and let's call it done. So the next stroke we are going to do will be to suggest some lines, and I'm just going to use this very dark green, maybe a little tip of black. The stems that are coming for the flower that's going to be growing here. And it's almost like try to touch just the tip of your paper. Okay? And at the top of this little branch will be a flower. And the flower can be a blue, a purple. Here's your purple. A blue. And maybe you can roll it in the blue and then do a little bit of a purple touch at the end. And so this flower is like a little iris. And I just go with a few little strokes, 2 and then 2 down. And sometimes I'll do a little bit of a dark spot. Let's do 5. Let's don't just do. So I have a few that are lighter in value, and I'm thinking about odd numbers when I do that, and I just put a few little dots in here to accentuate the little flower. Now, if I wanted to do a sense of this being in water, and that just requires a few strokes, almost a ripple, And if I wanted a butterfly, let's introduce another color. This gets more fun the more color you add. Let's do a little bit of an orange. I don't know that butterflies are orange.
Oh, yeah.
Monarchs are.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking yellow, but monarch yellow, but let's go with the orange. And we're gonna roll it in the orange, and then we'll take a little bit of red on the tip. Let's see, I have to think about my butterfly. Oh yeah, okay, so the butterfly is 2 little strokes at the top and 2, let's do another one up here. And then 2 little strokes at the bottom. I could have made him a little fatter. This one looks a little like maybe he's flapping his wings, that's why it's crooked. Okay, and then the body of the butterfly is just a little line and a little dot, and then if you want to make just a little antenna here, you have the sense of the butterfly. And sometimes you can even elaborate the butterfly just a little bit with a few strokes. Give it a little touch. So you're helping your scene. All right, so that's what we've been practicing. Let's begin now with our chrysanthemum flower. And Jim, would you bring I had a book that had a picture of the chrysanthemum. Oh, this one over here, Jim, has a picture of the chrysanthemum, but it's not exactly the one I will want to do. But it'll give everybody an idea about the shape of the chrysanthemum flower. And then I'm cleaning up some of my greens, even though, now this isn't exactly what we'll do, but notice that the chrysanthemum is just loaded with shapes here. And so this would mean that as you do the chrysanthemum, you could make, oh, and the other example, Jim, is on the easel. Maybe I'll just sort of let that one be the one I'm going to experiment with right there. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And I will show, this is the one I'm going to do now. Okay, it's very similar from the sunflower to the sunflower, but I'm going to do more than one flower. So I do begin, oh, I shouldn't have gotten rid of all my green because I have to begin with some green. So I'm going to use the yellow green, and I already have a little spot there, so I'll have to include that, won't I? I'm going to take a little more of that green and a touch of, I want that green to be an olive green, and I'm going to take just a little dark green here just to get the point of that, and I'm going to move this stalk up and leave space here and here for the flower. Maybe come with another stalk for the next flower, a little lower. So we want to have a place for the 3 flowers. And then the leaves can help to unify the design with the overlap. I go next to the flower. So that and your stems can actually be just one major stem or more, such as what happens in other flowers. So let's start with the yellow, and we're going to do, and I'm going to put a touch of orange in this for the chrysanthemum. And I want a lot of pigment, because if not, it's going to be too watery. And these flowers are going to start, you can put the centers in later, but basically they're petals that move toward the middle and help to kind of encompass. And the support will be given when we add the greenery around it and the little images, the little dabbing of the center. So sometimes most of the petals are going to go up, and I'm making this one a very small one, and the little dots, more dots at the top. Okay, I like the shape of that little one. Now I'm still working with more of the yellow and a touch of the orange. And see, even when you lay this down, you might get a little bit of a changing color by having that second color added. So play with play with that. Let's push this a little further out so that it has a little different look. Now, I kind of wish I had added a little touch of orange in there. And I'm going to now take the brown and a little bit of the orange and add some of these dots to suggest the center of the chrysanthemum. It's not a sunflower here, but it has a little darks going on. What feels very strange now is not having the leaves. So let's start talking about the leaves. They're going to also be a yellow-green, and we're going to mix the yellow and the green. But remember, this becomes way too bright if we don't add an orange or a brown, and even the blue. Now there's my dark. So I'm going to use what's here to keep making a little lighter shade for the leaves. In a way, I'll have several different greens. Okay, and then the shapes of these leaves for chrysanthemum are kind of like a threefold. So they have a little area, a bigger area, and another. So I made this one kind of small up here because typically leaves are going to get smaller at the top and bigger at the bottom. And they have some little stems here. I also want to add a bit of support to these flowers. And so the shapes I'm doing are mostly just taking my brush and curving them around. I need the variety. Next, the bigger shapes. Let's see. This one was really more of a edge of a flower leaf. I mean a leaf, not a flower, of course. And I want to push a little shade into that and texture. Let's get darker. Gosh, this needs to be a lot darker. And let's just make that leaf come up like that. All right, and what we do when we come back to these leaves is to do a little bit of calligraphy. And those are just making some lines for the shadows, the veins. And I like what happened better here. This feels a little heavy, but if I distribute this a little bit more, there. All right. Okay, so now we have the feeling of the chrysanthemum with leaves, and we're going to do one more now of the flower, sunflower. So what's going to be different is the center, and showing the center of the flower, and the leaves change. So they're not the chrysanthemum leaves that we have here. Now I just realized, what am I going to do about this piece of paper? I think I have to take it out. Ah, that worked. All right. Now this is my sheet that I keep underneath to keep it from, always have a rough sheet or nothing underneath your paper when you're doing this. Now what do I have on my brush? I still have green. So here I'm going to do my sunflower. This is my inspiration. So I'm going to do the stalk, and then I'm going to, well, clean up my mess. Sorry, little flower. You know, those are the accidents that happen. So they're just going to be part of the design. The sunflower now, I can start with my center, but I have to admit that if I do start with my center, that I've got to kind of figure out where that center goes so that I leave plenty of room for the petals to go in. So I'm starting that way, but remembering that I have to have petals all around it. So I'm using just the point of the brush to make some texture, and if this is too light when it dries, I'll just go over it and get a little darker. So the texture of that center, and the beauty of Oriental brush is that everything happens pretty quickly. And since I have such a mess with this, well, I have a mess in both my little paint sets. Gee whiz. I thought I cleaned one of them up, but I forgot. Well, look at my yellow, it's prettier, so I need to have a place for my yellow, that's for sure. I'll just take this space right here. Well, I'll mess up your paint set, Faith, if I use yours.
I'll clean it up.
Oh, deal, that's a deal, thank you. Boy, have I got a friend here. Okay, so the yellow is going to be really strong, so I have to really push the yellow into my brush, into my yellow paint. And then I'm going to take a little bit more of that orange. So I have a beautiful color because it's stronger than just a yellow. It's kind of a yellow orange, isn't it? Yeah. And I think that I'm going to do a little double dip with the orange on the tip. Let's see what happens. All right, so we're building petals. And the petals at the back side are going to be a little shorter, and the petals as they come down from the sunflower, actually all these petals are going straight up, but I know that as this opens, this was just today, if I had really looked at a sunflower that's open more, I would have these hanging down. So we have that sense of these petals doing more like this. And now we have a lovely sunflower. And it's just, we could do these so fast. Now remember I said we might have to go back and get this a little darker. So I am going to put a little more of the dark in here. These can be just quickly done as accents in the center of this. And here I want to, gosh, I'm really hating messing this set up. I can use my greens again here. So I'm taking these lighter greens and bringing them in to, I want to put a little blue here. I'm just doing some, bless you. You know how you have those little pieces that hang down from the sunflower, and then the leaves of the sunflower are more almost heart shape. And I tend to think of the leaves as being bigger at the bottom and smaller at the top. I think they grow that way. Seems like they do. Blue and brown will really get our leaves nice and dark. And the character of the way we use our brush, the way we pull, make these leaves, it will just really help the focus of what's going on here in this painting. Now when I'm done, and I like the way that works on the page, I take just the point of the brush and add the lines that suggest what's going on in the leaves. And it helps to define these leaves. I'm also going to put a few little bumps in the stalk or the stem of this flower. Okay, there we go. I think that we're ready now to try our chrysanthemum painting. And if you want to keep practicing with your bamboo and your other strokes, but we're really working with the flowers today, building a composition and practicing our strokes. All right, we ready? I'm going to quickly do a demo since we've all been practicing our sunflowers and chrysanthemums. What do we call this flower?
Looks like a plum blossom.
I'm going to call it a daylily, a morning glory.
Yes.
Morning glory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Morning glory.
All right.
It looks like a morning glory.
It does. So I could start with the stem, okay, and that's typical of how you would begin, and leave the gap for the flower. And then we're going to do some little buds. So it's as simple as taking your brown, and let's take a lot of water out of it, and we're going to use just a little tip more, and start. Here's our starting position with our hand holding the bamboo brush straight up and down, and from the bottom of the page we're going to lift it up, and then we're going to skip a bit of a dab here. This is really light, and I'll probably hit it again with just a little more, and then bring that line up for the flower. So we're dividing the space and creating a diagonal. And the flower itself is going to be 3 colors. It's kind of pink on the outside, purple, and then a red. So to have that pink, we want to roll the whole brush in a watery red to get that pink. And then what we want to do is take some of the purple and roll the purple into half of the brush. And then we want to take the tip of the brush and really saturate it with red. And to get that lovely color, looks like I could have gotten a little bit more. We're going to have 4 or 5 little petal shapes. And we're just going to move the brush around, leaving the center. I'm going to have to probably load this brush one more time. So we take the pink, red, and roll it around, getting that pink color. Then we take the purple and get the purple kind of worked in about halfway into the paintbrush, and then dip it into the red at the very tip. All right, so we're back over here, and we're bringing the brush around. I think my purple didn't work real well. And then come back like this. Now, since I wish the red had been a little heavier, we're just going to quickly go in with the red as a stroke.
Oh, yeah,
And that will help our flower. Okay, and then we're going to do our stem a little heavier as well. That's kind of a back stage here, where I wanted a little bit more of a shadow to that edge. And next we're going to get, and at this point I can add those little dots to the center of this flower and the leaves. So I have some green left over. I'm using the same prang set of 8 colors. I just happen to have 2 sets here. I'm making such a mess. And I'll add color to the green, like the blue and the brown, in order to have a different green. Thanks, darling. And push my brown in there, a little more blue. Okay, so my leaves now have a 3-point. So if I take the brush and lift, and then bring a center to that shape. I wish I'd made that a little browner. I like that color very much. And to make that a little bit browner, just simply add yellow brown. I'm going to get a little more concentrated, and I always like to put that blue in. Here, now, there's no reason why I can't add my own composition of leaves. So if I choose to make the design a little different from the original, that's okay. And the reason for that is what works on your page. So as you're creating, you're sort of looking at what, now I start with a brush up and down, but this stroke needs to kind of come in this direction. They're little buds. Look at all these sweet things that are happening up here at the end. And just give that little feeling of, now we have some buds, so I've got to make them next. And here's one, here's one, here's one. So I've got 1, 2, 3 places to go with that. And I want to begin with a little more yellow in my, these are places to hold these buds. And then these buds seem to be more purple than what I actually have in my flower, but I'm going to make them more red pink, since my flower turned out to be, it really does take some pushing of that purple to get that purple to saturate in there. Obviously, I didn't get enough in my brush to make that happen. So I'm going to make the buds match my flower. That makes more sense to me. So I'm taking the red and I'm rolling that around to get the pink mixed with my water, and letting some of that be less wet, and then just dipping my tip right in there. And the tip, I want the dark on the end. Let's start with this one. So it's a little flower bud here, and this one seems to have kind of 3 shapes to it. And this one looks like a bunch of little babies here at the end. There we go. Okay, so there's my, oh, well, last thing I would do, and then we'll call this one done, is to put my black lines in, just like we did before, to say, I am a leaf, and these are the veins of the leaf. So we will do just a few, just to help give that character. Now, you know, I'm tempted to do just a little bit more, just to give this more character, but there we go, we'll stop with that. Okay, enjoy another activity with the Oriental brush.